reappoint Barb Bergworth, Chrissy Lorenz, Mike Boykin, and Margaret Miller. For Environmental Advisory Committee, reappoint Laura Levins and Todd Murphy, appoint Britton Foy and Susan Smith, and appoint Charlotte Webster for the student position. For the Beach Preservation Committee, our first inaugural committee of that is appointing Dan Slotchever, Wendy Pastrick, Alice Bova, Dieter Osterman, and John Schilling. Are there other nominations? And John, if you had anything you wanted to add on, since this is coming from your committee?
Nope. It's good.
Next item is consideration of nominations for city judges, city attorney, and city prosecutor. First, Michael Maloney for city judge, Christopher Skipper for associate judge, Mac McQuillan of Hainsworth, Sinclair, and Boyd for city attorney, and Culver Kidd for city prosecutor. Next item is consideration of appointments from council. First is CARTA Board of Directors, Jimmy Ward, Charleston Visitors Bureau, Rusty Streetman, Charleston, Berkeley, Dorchester Council of Governments, Bev Miller, Environmental Advisory Committee Liaison, Katie Myers, and Beach Preservation Committee Liaison, David Cohen. Are there other nominations for appointments?
Yes, I'd like to nominate John Bogosian for the Charleston Visitors Bureau.
Thank you. Next item 11 is consideration of proposal from Thomas and Hutton to provide bidding and construction administration services for Phase 2 of Waterway Boulevard Flood Barrier Project for $75,000. You recall on this, we recently received all of our permits to let construction bids go on Phase 2. This has always been in the budget. We're just approving their oversight and bidding process for us. If there's a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Douglas, anything you want to add there?
No, just that this is in addition to a follow-up phase from Phase 1. This is that part of work that we have a kind of critical deadline that we're working towards with the FEMA grant. We are still working under the assumption that we're not going to be successful in getting that grant extension, but it has been reiterated to us from the construction community and our engineers that it will be very challenging to have $1 million of the work actually in place by February. So we're trying to get that done, but at the same time, we're also working with our federal lobbyists to try to get that extension granted from FEMA. We just are not hearing anything back through the state and or the FEMA offices on the extension. They're kind of indicating that the shutdown has them a little bit jumbled, and we're hopeful we're going to hear back affirmatively that we've been granted the extension, but we just haven't heard that word yet. So we're working fast and furious to get this underway and work in the ground to be sure we can take advantage of that grant.
What's the requirements? Is it to spend all of the money, the $1 million or whatever the grant amount is, or if you spend half of it, you get that amount granted?
I think that we would be reimbursed all that we can get in place by the deadline of the grant.
And what is your estimate of what we can get done by that period, by that deadline?
Our engineers are telling us that, and they're looking at it every way of, can we get all of the materials ordered and just have them in place? But they're saying it will be hard to spend $1 million by February, given the way that the project's set up.
But do they have an estimate of how much they can realistically spend by February?
I have not heard that. They've just told me it will be tough to spend the full $1 million.
So do we have the contractor under contract for this?
No,
phase?
no,
So we
it's
don't-
out to bid now. We just got the permits. I think either this week or may have been last week. So it's out for bidding now. The bidding deadline is December 31st to align with your first meeting in January. Usually that's a ceremonial meeting, but there will be a piece of business on there to authorize a contract for this work.
And remember, what's the February date? I get the exact
It's
date.
February 1st.
First, we'd have to spend the money by February 1st.
Correct. So, that's I think the meeting is on the 6th. We could potentially sign a contract on the 7th. There's time in there, obviously, to order materials. I think even if we were to front load all of the materials, I don't know that it's $1 million. So I would hope that we would have affirmative good news on the extension, but if we don't, we're going to do our absolute best to get $1 million spent by February 1st, but it will be a challenge.
And Douglas, we've employed or engaged our federal lobbyist in Mace's office trying to get this pushed
That's
across the line.
correct. Yeah, the governor's office, Mace's office have all offered to help with getting the extension. I mean, it should not be an overwhelming task to grant the extension, just has not happened for whatever reason.
And just this 75,000 was already in the original budget for the.
Yeah, it was in
This is
their
just-
original proposal. If you recall, we were not sure that we would get through phase one. That also had this kind of time constraint of being done in conjunction with the golf course. So council didn't authorize this part of the Thomas and Hutton work, but it's always been in their plan for work that they would need to be done.
And Douglas, to your point, this is specific for construction bidding and construction oversight.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So one more question.
Yeah.
Where will the $1 million come from if we're not getting it from the feds? Is it going to have to come out of the fund balances?
Yeah,
somewhere?
we've been talking internally about options for that. There is, we have basically a drainage savings account that is held with Charleston County as part of the city's NPDES fund. The balance of that account is about $1.8 million at this point. That would certainly be money that would be available. We also have, and not to get too far afield, but we also have in this year's budget work on Palm at between 38th and 41st that we are hearing is not going to be practical to get completed in the off season. So we were faced with the choice of either that going into the busy season or delaying that until the fall. So that is money that is in our budget. There's also, I think it's about 2.2 million that was dedicated to that project in the prior state budget. So we are going to reach out to the state budget office about potentially, because we're going to have the issue of not only the million, but we do think that the contract for this project is going to be beyond what we budgeted for the project. So we think we're going to be over budget even without the FEMA grant issue. So we do need to identify.
Over the
additional-
6 million that we had in there?
No, we budgeted 2 million in this year's
I meant the
budget.
whole project was like 6 million.
That's
So-
correct.
So this is going to take it above the 6 million.
No, we budgeted 2 million to be done this year. We think it's going to be in the magnitude of 4.5 million total spent this year if we're able to do this next section of work. So total this year will be 4.5 million. We only budgeted 4 million. $1 million of that comes back, but we still have this, we still are going to be over budget about $1.5 million.
Could it ask you to bring this summary update to the next meeting so
Yep.
that when we look at approving the, this contract, I just remember all the phases was a total of almost 6 million.
That's-
Maybe you're looking at the chunks at 4.5 for the fiscal
That's
year,
correct.
but what I think we need to see is now what is the current view of the entire project, given that we either have the million or we don't. We're either over on this next phase or not. What's the new outlook?
Yep.
Because it's going to hit our 27 fiscal budget. And then where the money's presumably going to come from, because if it's coming from somewhere else to cover the million, that means something else isn't
Yeah,
potentially getting done.
And we're working on that to be able to report it, knowing that or expecting that the bids are going to be way above what we currently have
Way above.
allocated for the.
Okay.
Yeah. We're expecting this phase of work to be about $3 million. which would bring. our-
Versus 2, I'm sorry.
Well, yes.
It was budgeted at 2.8, phase 2.
Phase 2 is budgeted at 2.8, but we only have 2 in this year's budget. So I'm talking about the current year's budget. Has budgeted 2 million. We think it's going to be a total of 4.5 million. I'm sorry, I keep saying total for this current budget year. So we will have
If we
phase
can have it
3
laid out on one.
Yeah,
maybe
so
one
we're
page
gonna get
for
all
the
of
next
this.
meeting. Yeah.
laid out for you when we have the bids back for this coming.
And we'll have real bids, hopefully first meeting in January. So we've got a motion and a second for this particular Thomas and Hutton bid. Is all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Next item is consideration of responses to RFQ 2025-02 to provide beach management alternatives analysis services. Douglas, you want to
Yes.
set stage and we'll do a
Yep.
motion and such.
So this is an RFQ that council decided to put out, and this is requesting qualifications to analyze alternatives that would basically make the beach more durable. So we've had a number of ideas come out and presented to council. You know, these would be things like groins, breakwaters. We've had the idea of a sand trap. All of these ideas to date have been kind of back of a napkin concepts. This would be an effort to get a deeper study on each of those, identify the pros and cons, cost estimates, and hopefully give council the tools you all need to make some choices about if and how you would like to create a more durable beach going forward. We issued that request, and we received responses from 4 firms. All 4 we have some familiarity with. One is CSE, Stephen Trainham's operation that's been, working with the city for a long time. The next one is Foth Olson. That is Chris Creed, who the city engaged to provide a second opinion, which he did for us several months ago. The next one is a firm that was hired by some residents on the southern end of the island, CP&E. They have offered a proposal, and the last one is ATM, who we have used pretty much exclusively on the backside of the island. So they have dealt with the docks that we've permitted, our current dredging operation, which is under design and permit review. So we have varying degrees of experience with each of them, and they've submitted their firm's background, and offered those to you all. Next steps in that process would be for you all to advise us which you would like to receive proposals from. Staff would then go back and say, and identify, we're supposed to identify the top respondents. We would then go back, get proposals, and there would be a second. They would come back to you with their actual costs and proposals. That's the point at which you would be hiring a firm. So at this point, it's solely to select the firm or firms that you would like to get proposals from.
Douglas, is that something that we would be expecting to do at our next month at our first
Yes. Yeah, I think,
workshop council meeting to have that discussion?
yep, it would be.
I mean, I read through all of the RFQs, and I mean, they all seem to have some really good qualifications there. There's no doubt about that. And I've looked at the evaluation process and criteria, and it looks like it comes down to us as a council making a decision whether we make those approvals or recommendations or turn it over to the Beach Preservation Committee to recommend to us.
Yeah, that would be a path. If you chose, I guess the downside of waiting would be it would delay the ultimate output of the chosen firm. But that could, if council was of a mind to not proceed with getting proposals back or considering proposals, that could be an option. It would just add some time to the process.
I'd just like to say one thing, and that is in the process with this, we've gotten qualifications from 4 very well qualified firms. The next step is a proposal, which is not a fee proposal. It is just a proposal of what the work would be that they propose to do.
No, we think it would include a fee as well.
Generally, with consultants, when you're hiring expertise, you get qualifications, then you have a proposal of work, and then you select a firm and negotiate the fee based on that, because you're hiring the firm on their qualifications, not on how much it's going to cost. Now, if that firm that you select, you can't come to an agreement on a fee, then you can go to another, one of your alternate people. But you need to make sure that you hire on the work that that they're proposing to do, not on cost. It's different from buying a truck or something
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
Scott?
Just throw out an idea here, and maybe we do continue it at the workshop, but in order to perhaps not lose a month or so, I think there are a couple of firms in here that we're quite familiar with or have become familiar with, being CSE and Foth Olson. I think they've shared their information. They both got kind of a level playing field as far as knowing the beach from where we stand right now and some of the issues we're dealing with. I'd be open to maybe we kick off at least two of those and get them going on it. And then if we want to reevaluate that at the workshop, see what the output is and include others, or if we have a change of heart on that, maybe we could go from there. But I'd rather not lose a month of opportunity here. And I think these two firms, they have a wide perspective of views, different opinions, and I think they can work together as well. So I think it might, I'd propose that maybe what we do is we kick those two off. I've gone through their qualifications and all, and I think that Trainham's team has familiarity here, and I think Foth Olson have demonstrated quite a aptitude for alternatives that we've not considered before. So
Is that a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that. Other questions?
I'd just like to comment. I agree with Scott on that. I think instead of, pulling a singular preference and say, okay, this is the criteria, this is what you want to come back to us on. And then if we're not happy with it, then we go back to the drawing board and start over. If we pick a couple of firms, as Scott suggested, CSE, Foth Olson, and go with those, so they're both preparing that information, that should save us some time ultimately. And make
We get a couple different views too.
Right. I'm all for that.
But you're just shutting out the other two from the process?
Not necessarily.
At this
We could revisit that at the workshop as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, and see if there's other alternatives. But
Yeah,
these are two knowns. Anyway, sorry.
And I guess I would say the process is to try to get it to your chosen firm. So I think this would be the first. And so I guess I would answer the question as you are starting to eliminate firms, which is the way it's supposed to happen.
Yeah, the way the process is set up now in the final paragraph there is that if we're not happy with the work that they come back, then you go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, you would
Start
want
over with
to
another.
pick your top
Yeah.
firm
Yeah.
or firms based on their qualifications.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Douglas, you good?
Yep.
With that? Last item is second reading, ordinance 2025-12 to update the class schedule for business licenses as required by Act 176 of 2020. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve
Second,
without reading.
Douglas, anything to add? I know this is kind of,
This is a bit of a
Formality,
housekeeping.
yeah.
We're required to do this to keep track with the business license classes and their associated NICIS codes. So periodic update we have to do.
the motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Our next meeting will be swearing in on January 6th at 5 PM. More information will be coming on that. There being no further business.
Motion to adjourn.
second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Off record at 5:31. Thank you.
That was there. That was my